So, for the Mek Special and the boy that's going to sit on the back, I've basically raided the bits box and grabbed a load of guns. The actual shooter boy himself is going to be based around, I have no idea, I think it's from the truck kit. It's a pair of boys' legs, a spare head with a target on it, because I think that was pretty cool. And I think these are either Warbike or, look at the connections, that might be the old Deathcopter arms. So that'll be pretty cool with him holding both hands on the gun, giving it some Dakka. And I've pulled a load of gun parts out. I think I want to use one of these big barrels for it. The other Mek Special has a kind of tri-barrel. I thought I'd go with something big and chunky and cannon-like, and then probably one of these as well. And then we've got some ammo boxes, some flying ammo, just general gubbins. So I'll start with the boy, get him built up, and then we'll have a play around with the gun and see where we get to. I've had a lot of playing around. I had one plan. So originally I was going to use this gun from the Dakka Jets kit. It's really cool, but it's absolutely massive. If you compare this to the Mek Special here, it is significantly longer than either of the barrels. And whilst on the vehicle it looked pretty cool sticking out, I just felt it was going to be too big. Doesn't really matter what I did. So I'm going to go with 3 barrels instead. So I'm going to go with this dual barreled custom shooter probably from one of the knobs kits, and this big shooter from I think that's Black Reach Hawk, I suspect. One barrel's very slightly longer than the others. I might try and just extend that out a little bit. I tried doing this with a boy the other night. I had a bit of a play around with just a standard boy figure, and he's too short. The orc who's normally sat in the back of this is actually really, really tall. Partly because he's stretched right up, but also I think the new orcs are a little bit taller and less squat-legged than the old orcs. So I've gone with a knob. I'm using the handlebars from a Deathcopter. I've just taken off the front of this to flatten it out, and I've taken the knob's arms off and just carved in so that the Deathcopter arms fit nicely. So essentially we'll put a plate in here later. We're going to have this guy stood up here. We'll put a little bit of I'll use this, which is from a mega knob, I think. It seems like a good little widget to put on there. So he's going to stand there, guns there. Then out of plastic card I've built just this little, essentially it's a box with a bit on the front of it. So it's just, build a box out of plastic card, square it off, sand it back as much as you can, try and get rid of those lines. And that's going to sit in front of there, so we'll attach the handlebars to that, and then the guns will go on the front of this. So I'm not sure which way around. I'll probably do it the opposite way around, so the tri-barrel's on one side rather than the other. Rather than I think that's on that side, doesn't it? So we'll do it kind of like that, with the guns out like that. And then I thought I'd do kind of a funky shield on it. So a bit like an anti-aircraft style gun. Then we'll do some modding at the top. We'll put bullets spraying out of it. I've got an ammo box to drop on the side. Kind of makes it all a bit bigger. Just got to be a bit careful where that goes so it doesn't clash with his hands. I'll do some detailing on it in a minute. It's all pretty simple-ish. So the most important bit of this bit is going to be making sure that all the gun barrels are level and looking about right. So we'll settle them in a nice good splodge of glue. One's of course run straight into there. You're not going to see most of this under here, so it doesn't really matter. You just make sure they're nice and level that way, and pretty evenly spaced on the front here. I'll have a look at the shield. So this is it's pretty plain. It's going to sit behind that, so I might put it at a very slight angle, just to encourage this. So we need to really do all this out of edge, a little bit on the inner edge. We can leave this bit flat because that's going to be hidden. So just as I've done before, just go around the edges with it with a knife, start taking edges off it, and bear in mind that the front and back on this are fairly visible, so we can do both sides of it. Helps to tighten. And then we'll make some spikes for it as well, so we'll just get some scraps. Here's a bit of scrap card here. So we just want some triangular spikes. So we use this end and we'll just cut that way. Or you can do kind of diamond shaped ones where we take the bottom 2 corners off as well. And we want it going up to about that. Oh, that's quite good like that. I like you a bit of that. And then we'll just pop some glue on here and pop them on. So we'll have a nice sticky one on this side. And 2 on this side. We'll do a little bit of work later to sort the edges on these out, and then obviously we'll add some rivets later on. We want to put some glyph plates on, so they'll also sit on here. So lots of different heights. So having loads of different heights makes when you paint this really, really easy, and it will give you, you know, lots of visual interest. You paint the main bits one colour and pick the glyph plates out in a different colour. So just bob them on. They don't have to be even. Keep them square-ish. They're massively wonky. Alright, go massively wonky if you want, but I'm going to try not to. So that's that. That'll do pretty nicely. I don't want to go overly detailed on it. We'll go back to this side. So we want to add a couple of strips down the back. Oh, we need to figure out where this is going to stop first. I also need to add some sights to it. Just try and keep things relatively square. And just measure down it, and we want a piece that's, I'm going to inset it slightly, I think. So again, just talking about these kind of layers, so we want a piece that's that long. What's my mark now? There it is. There's my mark there. Another second piece the same length. Like that. And we'll just take these two and just sand the edges together very slightly. So I think this needs to go to the back. I'm going to stick it on to make it a bit easier to work with. So we'll glue across the back here. This wants to sit round about there, nice and level, like so. Give it a minute to dry. So we're now going to do probably the fiddliest bit of this conversion. I'm going to try and drill out and cut out the centre of these to make a couple of slots for these bullet streams to come out of. So I want it relatively near the front, down the centre. So, and the easiest way I've figured of doing this is take your pin vise drill 3 holes, and then just cut the rest out with a craft knife. And I'm just going to see if I get a spare blade for this. It's getting a bit blunt. So yeah, make sure you've got a super sharp blade on your knife, because you need it. So I'm probably going to have to do this off camera because I can't drill down into them particularly easily. But just drill nice and central, keep the drill in the middle of that line, drill right the way through. But at least on each end of this line, and then we'll cut the middle out. And then once you've drilled these holes, just take your sharp craft knife and cut between the sides here and here. It's pretty simple, just have to do it carefully so you don't snap the side or cut the front. And then you'll start to get a hole in it, and then it's just a matter of taking a knife and very carefully just squaring this off. Then once you start to make a hole, I just get a file, start trying to square it up as much as you can. And with a lot of trimming, filing and trying to square things up, you should end up with something that kind of looks like a nice neat hole, and hopefully it is indeed the right size for the bullets to sit in. So that little bit of space around it will really show up when we stick some washers on this later. It'll feel like the bullets are actually flying out of the gun and not just they're not just stuck on top. So I'll get the other one done and I'll be back in a minute. So now it's really just a matter of starting to put this part. So I'm going to drop a little spacer in behind here. Just this little piece here. That will help get this at a decent angle. I just realised that's not square. The other way when it is square. And then get the gun shield up and on it, because then I'll start getting a feel for where everything else is going to go. Try and line these up with the barrels, because obviously these are going to be the ejection ports for the bullets. All the time you're building stuff up on this, it just helps kind of solidify the model, give you different layers to paint. We might want to smash some bits off the corners of this a little bit. I'll probably drop a little bit of green stuff in there just to tidy up that that hole we've got there. We need an ammo box, and this one I was afraid I'd have to squeeze in. Yeah, it's a bit tight, but we'll drop that in there. Obviously need to build a base for him, and I might have a little bit of wiggle room in this, so I might need to put a little bit underneath. I'll probably put a little spacer in there, just a little bit of spare plastic card, just so I can mount this on it, and then it can sit underneath the gun. That's coming together quite nicely. Do I need to add any more bits? I need to add a sight on it, don't I? Still haven't got that. I need to add the bullets. I'll do them next. So these bullets are just going to get glued into these slots here, and then we'll bend them ever so slightly. Just a little bit of pressure on them, just to curl them out a little bit. And then pop it in. So on the other side. I like them at different angles as well, that's kind of cool. They are actually two different models. I didn't realise that, I thought they were the same. Okie dokie, do I need any more detail on this? You could keep adding detail, you could kind of build this out. I need to add a sight on it, so let's go and hit the bits box. I'm just going to start detailing this up a little bit. Put some tiny bits of plastic card stuff in the front there, and then we'll add a sight onto it, so I'll put a little piece down here. Just add the sight down the centre here, just on that piece. And all these bits will just mean I've got some different pieces to paint up in different variety of colours, metals, other plastics. I've gone with a really traditional crosshair sight. I'm just going to clean up the centre of that a little bit with a knife. And I think I'll just add some rivets to it. So same as before, we'll drill some holes and stick some metal balls in it. And then we'll work our way towards the final fitting. So I'm going to drop a panel in here, just to cover that up. This is just a piece of plastic card I've cut out and dinged up a little bit. Put it in that way. I'll take the roof out for this. Slide it in back here, like so. Here's the boy something to stand on. There's a little bit of this stuff, and then let's check this fits. So there we have it. I've done a little bit of green stuff work. I've built him out a bit of a neck because this knob and has a flat connection, whereas the boy has a rounded connection. Boy's head I'm using. Clean up the arms, fill all these holes in, drop the little connector at the bottom. And if we pop them on here, we'll see. Oh, hang on. It all fits pretty nicely together, so he's going to be swinging, pointing the gun that way, which is the opposite direction to the standard kit. But I'm pretty chuffed with how that has come out. So that's the guns done, or rather the Mek Special done. So I'm going to pop him to one side, let him all dry off. And this thing is starting to come together quite nicely. Obviously I've got the drive to do. I'm going to leave this roof loose. I don't want to stick it on until it's painted, and then I'll probably super glue it in afterwards. We'll build the bumper on later. And thanks for joining us here at the Cocked Dice. Why not like this video and add a comment below? It really helps boost the channel. And while you're at it, if you click on the icon below, you can subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates as soon as they're live. Why not check out some of our other videos and playlists? You can click on the ones on screen right now. Take care, and we'll see you next time.